Well, hello everyone. How's everyone doing today? I think we should be working here. It's the one flaw with YouTube, and I'm probably just not doing this right, but I'm never sure if I'm actually broadcasting. And I also do need to turn on, let me look here real quick. The YouTube control panel, there we go. Oh gosh, it's asking me for my password. Quit asking me for passwords. And I'm talking to life in general. All right, so that's going to be, hang on one second. I'm just getting this set up. And it takes a while for people to figure out we're here anyway, so. And then K, and then dollars. I think that's right. Okay, I think we're logging into chat on this too. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. And, this is something that I have tried to project out and perfect, I should say. I can't always say I'm successful at it. Uh, so, if I stumble around with some of this, just bear with me. I got a lot of screens I can open, a lot of things I can show, including that. I hope everybody saw that. Good. Okay. And we'll go ahead and open up that window. If you're just joining us, this is a live chat to talk about the severe weather potential for today. So I'm going to shut that down just for a second and shut the radar off just for a second because I do want to show you, and this is going to be crude. This is just taken exactly from my PowerPoint that I use. So I think the most important thing here is to be communicating, and not necessarily in the best possible way. But anyway, this is the upgraded tornado outlook from the SPC for today. And so this 15% area right here is pretty significant. It basically means that there's a 15% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. Now, in their late afternoon update, they extended this to cover much of southwest Missouri now, whereas before it was just right there. So I just wanted to bring that point into light. This would normally be considered a single-pronged severe weather event. What I mean is we would wait for I-35 thunderstorms to develop here and sweep in the general direction of this outlook, and southwest Missouri, Springfield, northwest Arkansas would get caught up in that. And I think that will happen. There's a possibility that that will happen in addition to what I'm going to talk about. So just keep in mind that that's the severe weather threat. And we can also look at the general broader threat area here. I believe I can do that. Hang on one second. And that should be this map right here. There we go. Yeah, I'm navigating through all these windows. There's going to be some mistakes made, so just bear with me. Anyway, so this is the moderate risk for severe weather in general. I show that to you because, there's a lot of focus on tornadoes, and there should be. And we just reviewed that, but keep in mind that 2-inch diameter hail or larger is going to be common with the stronger supercell storms, and wind gusts 80 miles per hour with some of the stronger storms are also going to be possible whether they produce a tornado or not. So that's an important consideration for folks as well. So we definitely want to stress that and talk about that as well. So just so we're not walking away completely talking about only tornadoes, because that would be a mistake, because this could be a multi-pronged event and likely will be. We got some people watching. I'll just talk slow because I think word gets out slowly on this kind of stuff. But anyway, that's the severe weather outlook for now. And again, the tornado threat basically is kind of embedded really in that red color. So this chance, 15% chance of a tornado within 25 miles is in that moderate area too. I'm looking at the two and kind of comparing them. Instead of going back and forth, it'd just be easier for me to look off screen and just say that the highest tornado threat is basically just is coincident with this area here, and it's probably the reason it exists. but also hail and high winds would be possible with this. So that is the severe weather outlook. And let me make sure that I'm actually broadcasting the screen. I think I am. Let's see. Yes, I am. Okay. Now we'll turn off the PowerPoint and turn the radar back on. Again, you're going to see some black. Just bear with me here. Let's go back to the radar. Right here. There we go. So this is the current radar, and I am using, it looks like Tulsa radar right now. And what we're seeing here on the Tulsa radar are some echoes. They're severe thunderstorm warned. You can see by the boxes right here and right here. And these are generally moving off toward the northeast, generally speaking. They've been severe thunderstorm warned. This has been better organizing, and there has been some hail reports. That report right there, I'd have to go to the actual radar screen. Just let me check that real quick. That hail report there is, let's see here. Well, that's only 0.75 inch hail so far on that one. So that's less than a quarter size. So the report was less than needed for severe thunderstorm warning, but the radar is indicating otherwise. So that's how you should interpret that. So anyway, that's a look at those storms. Now, let me put those in motion for you, and you can kind of see what's happening. And so the question becomes, are those thunderstorms going to be really bad? They're severe thunderstorm warned. They're heading up toward and just to the west of Joplin. They would be heading up into extreme west central Missouri eventually. And there are some other trailing storms behind that. If I go expand this view a little bit here and just kind of go like this, you'll see there's other storms that are brewing down here in Oklahoma. Some of these fired up and then weakened between, let's say, Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And then there are some other ones that are ramping up pretty quickly south and southeast of Oklahoma City. And those are severe thunderstorm as well. And you can see some more even down in Texas. This is a complex pattern. And the reason I felt like I had to go live today is because there was a lot of information out there, a lot of balls in the air about what could happen, model data, things like that. So I'm hoping to clear this out to the best of my ability, keeping in mind that the answer just might be it's a little chaotic. There may not be an answer, or there's an answer now that may not be valid in a couple of hours. So I just wanted to just kind of talk about that right now and see how far we can get with all this. So let me go back to my display here, and I want to show you now some, let's see, we'll go to this. This is some Storm Prediction Center output. And so if you've been outside today, and it feels really humid, it is, and it's really breezy, and that breeze is kind of out of the southeast a little bit, it is. Those two things alone, are they enough of a predictor for a tornado? No, but they're necessary for the larger ones usually. So we have that checked off the list, I guess you could say. We have more than enough unstable air. So this map right here shows a couple of things. It shows a low pressure center over northwestern Oklahoma. It shows anything in green and yellow is very high dew points. In yellow, it's over 70, I believe. Yes. So we have 70 degree dew points, high 60 degree dew points, just covering all this threat area right here. So unstable air, not an issue. We'll take a look at that right now, actually. We'll go to thermodynamics and change over to something called CAPE. And if we do that, you see that the strongest axis or ribbon of instability is showing up out here along the dry line, which is situated right about there. So that is where some storms will definitely initiate. We already see some there south of the Red River in North Texas. But now, so what about these? Are they in unstable air? Yes, they are. There's no question about that. Is it unstable enough for those storms to be severe? Yes. Is it the right kind of environment for rotating storms? So in other words, if we look down and try to figure out if those storms are ever going to become tornadic, we can look at that real quick and just look at the low-level spinning. So these storms are actually coming into a little bit of a minimum with regard to this helicity is what we would be looking at. Helicity, fancy term, right? But the low-level winds, are they supporting low-level rotation if storms can be rooted in the surface? And that's another issue with these. They're close. So they're kind of going into a little bit of a gap. But I want you to note something. There's an axis right here where that value is actually pretty high. So even though there's a gap there, generally speaking, this axis is pretty pronounced. So these storms would eventually be moving up into an area where that's a little bit higher. Now, when evening comes, usually these values go up. So this axis right here just needs to be watching how these thunderstorms move into it. So is there an early evening threat? In other words, I don't know, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, that area, with those same thunderstorms? Yes, and I think they will get stronger with time. And it is possible that this cluster we're looking at here, I just showed you on radar, will become more severe with time as it moves up toward the north and east. Now, there are other storms that are trying to form back here. I think that those, in fact, we're going to switch to radar again real quick. Let me just get rid of this. Here we go. There are other storms that are trying to form back here. Some have been successful. Some have been snuffed out a little bit, like that one. But anything that forms in here, you can clearly see those are moving up in this general direction. That is a separate initiation, and I think that these in particular that I just circled with the arrow need to be watched very carefully as they continue to grow and progress. This group could produce larger hail. It might tap enough low-level spinning to produce a tornado, especially if it organizes into one solid storm, which it might. These right here are the ones you need to watch here for early initiation or anything that forms up in this area too. So that's a consideration. And again, these are moving up, as you can see, towards northwest Arkansas, but eventually into southwest Missouri. Now, that is what we see on the radar now. What I think will happen later on, let's go back to our map. In this area right here, we're going to get more thunderstorm initiation. And so we have round one, which is kind of this and a little bit of this that are moving like this. And then we have a second round that'll develop back here. Now, that's the later one. That one will take a minute to get into our area. So it'll be later in the evening, certainly after 9, probably after 10, before those storms actually start knocking on our door. So there are two distinct areas, and you probably have heard that today. And one of the reasons why is because it is actually panning out. But the question all along has been, with this second round, how much will it fill in, or this first round, how much will it fill in, and whether they will be forming in an area that does favor severe weather. We can take a look at a composite index, which is a significant tornado parameter. It shows that same gap right here. So again, these storms right here are still in. Again, there's an axis right here. So just because they're not near the maximum doesn't mean that they are not in the game. So you certainly want to watch these as they pass just over and west of Joplin over the next couple of hours. These storms that I pointed out are actually in a very high axis for this. And if you're thinking, well, if something forms back here, it isn't. Well, the thing of it is, I totally anticipate that these parameters here that indicate a significant tornado, all it does is it combines low-level wind shear with instability and looks at if there's a capping inversion or not. These parameters will actually back up tonight. So in other words, they'll become stronger as the night goes on, back out ahead of the dry line, because there's still energy in the upper atmosphere coming out of Texas. So that it's a multifaceted type of thing. So we're on the alert for a couple of different rounds. I'm watching this one. Let's go back to radar real quick. That's this one right here. Let me see. I got to find my radar program here. There we go. And I'm going to pull this over here real quick. Okay, so this is the radar program. So these cells right here are moving quickly into southeast Kansas, and eventually will affect areas like Nevada, Lamar, El Dorado Springs, Osceola. That's what this cluster of storms will do. And I'm looking at Tulsa radar, by the way. Oh, I'm looking at Oklahoma State. I'll call up Tulsa here in a minute. But here are these storms here are probably my biggest concern in the short term for southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas, because these are ramping up very quickly. And I think that probably is a very favored area for severe weather development. In fact, it looks as if some of those are trying to rotate just based on visuals. Let me stop the loop real quick, and let's go ahead and switch radars. Let's go to Tulsa here real quick. This is the Tulsa radar loading right now. There we go. It shows these storms in a little more finer detail. They're trying to organize. That's a hail core right here where you see that color. And so, yeah, this is trying to organize into a bigger storm. If it is successful, it would be something to watch. This one just is trying to hold on down here. It may still prevail. It actually may latch onto whatever boundary this storm leaves behind. That may help it. And then these storms down here are probably best to look at. We're going to change radars one more time to Twin Lakes in Oklahoma City so we can get a better look at those. So these storms are, again, so when you see, again, just looking at reflectivity, just because you see a hook-like looking thing doesn't necessarily mean it's doing anything. If we look at low-level rotation on that, and we'll just use the cheat sheet and just use the N rotation. Yeah, there is a little bit on that storm right there, right just to the off to the east of I-35. So we're kind of watching whether those rotating areas actually develop anymore. So that would be what I would watch carefully. And then again, we've got storms that could form out here in the I-35 corridor, closer to peak heating around 5 or 6, and those would come in behind these. So I hope you got something out of this. Again, a tornado watch will probably be issued maybe as early as around maybe as early as around 4 o'clock. Was it just after 2 now? Maybe 5, and I don't see them issuing anything less than a tornado watch. I don't think Severe Thunderstorm Watch is going to quite get it on any of these, even though there's some speculation left and right here about what might happen. One thing is pretty clear: nobody is going less than tornado watch. That's not going to happen. I'm going to turn my OBS back on real quick. We had 10 people watching. It looks like the signal is going strong. So this will be saved if you want to rewatch it. But again, remember, in severe weather situations, what time is it now? 2:18. So, you know, if you watch this in an hour, it might still be okay. If you watch it at 5 o'clock, all bets are off. So I'll be monitoring this. I was planning on maybe going out and try to intercept some of these storms, but we're just going to have to wait and see. It might be better served just to sit in one place today. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I do my best to try to keep you updated when I can. Whether I'll do another live tonight is also up in the air. That's a possibility. Again, that might better serve people because I'm not driving. I'm sitting in my chair, so that might be a lot easier. So we'll just wait and see how things develop. Thanks for tuning in on this one. We'll stop and revisit this. I certainly will post. It's easier and quicker to do it on Facebook and just use images than a video, but sometimes a video is just necessary to explain things. So we may do another one of these coming up here during the course of the afternoon and evening. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.